Beneath the familiar mountains of Skyrim, beyond stone and soil, there exists a realm that few mortals have ever glimpsed, a world vast enough to rival the open sky, yet shrouded in eternal night. This is Blackreach, the hidden world below, a subterranean expanse so strange, so beautiful, and so unsettling, that even the bravest adventurers find themselves whispering as though they stand within a temple. The air here is thick with silence, broken only by the faint drip of unseen water and the distant hum of ancient machines. Imagine stepping into that cavern for the first time. The ceiling stretches far above, lost in shadows, while the ground beneath your feet is softened by glowing fungi that cast pale blues and gentle greens across the rocks. Towering mushrooms rise like trees, their stalks pulsing with an inner light. Great crystalline structures thrust upward like frozen lightning, bathing the cavern floor in a ghostly radiance. The world feels alive, but not with life as mortals know it. Instead, it is alive with secrets, with ancient intent, and with the weight of centuries pressing in from every side. The first impression of Blackreach is not merely visual, it is spiritual. One feels a sense of trespass, of having crossed a threshold into a place not meant for mortal eyes. It is as though you are walking through the dream of the earth itself, a vision the mountains keep hidden in their heart. Yet this dream is no gentle one. Beneath the glowing light and alien beauty, there lingers an undercurrent of menace, a reminder that the deep places of the world are not meant to comfort but to challenge, to bewilder, and to humble. Long before the eyes of modern wanderers glimpsed its wonders, the Dwemer, masters of stone and brass, carved Blackreach from the living rock. To them, it was not a place of mystery, but of purpose. Its caverns became cities, its walls were bent to house machines, its glowing crystals harvested for energy and experiment. Where an adventurer sees wonder, the Dwemer once saw tools, materials, and a canvas upon which to etch their impossible designs. Yet even through their eyes, Blackreach was never entirely tamed. It resisted understanding, offering both power and peril in equal measure. To walk in Blackreach is to feel suspended between worlds. You are neither in Skyrim's familiar wilderness nor in the crafted halls of Dwemer ruins. Instead, you inhabit a liminal realm, both natural and unnatural, both eternal and fragile. Light blooms where no sun shines, and echoes carry farther than the ear can measure. The cavern itself seems aware of its visitors, observing in silence, judging without word or gesture. And though the traveler may wish to linger, there is always the sense that Blackreach does not wish to be seen for long. Its doors are hidden, its passages winding, as though the earth itself seeks to guard its secrets from careless hands. But secrets do not remain hidden forever. Blackreach has always drawn the curious, the ambitious, and the reckless. Scholars whisper of it, adventurers seek it, and some stumble upon it only to wish they never had. For every glowing crystal that enchants the eye, there lies a shadow waiting to consume the unwary. For every quiet pool that reflects the cavern's light, there are depths into which one might fall, never to rise again. The hidden world below is beautiful, yes, but it is also perilous. And so, as we open this journey, we descend with caution. We are entering not merely a cavern, but a story woven across millennia, of the Dwemer who claimed the deep, of the Falmer who lingers still, of dragons sleeping in forgotten hollows, and of mysteries that defy even the gods. Blackreach is not simply a place on a map. It is a world apart, a chapter of Nirn that speaks in silence, glowing softly in the dark while mortals above live and die in ignorance of what lies beneath their feet. It is here, in this cavern of light and shadow, that our story begins. To remain within Blackreach for any length of time is to feel the strange pull of its silence. Unlike the wilderness above, there is no wind to stir the leaves, no birds to cry in the distance, no rustle of fox or hare in the brush. Instead, the air lies heavy, filled only with the faint reverberation of unseen forces. The traveler begins to sense that sound itself behaves differently here, carrying in unusual ways, as though the cavern listens and remembers every word spoken aloud. Even a whisper seems too loud, breaking against the quiet with the weight of a shout. Many who wander here for long grow uneasy, compelled to murmur or say nothing at all, as though their voices might awaken something slumbering in the deep. And perhaps they are not wrong, for beneath the visible glow of fungi and crystal, there lingers a sense of immense slumber, of presences old and vast, waiting just beyond sight. The cavern feels like a tomb, yet also like a cradle. It preserves, yet it nurtures. It threatens, yet it shelters. It is a contradiction made stone and shadow, a place where opposites meet and exist in uneasy harmony. Some have said that Blackreach is Nirn turned inside out, a reflection of the surface twisted through the lens of forgotten gods. Others believe it to be a wound in the world, a space carved by forces that should not be remembered. Whatever the truth, the impression remains. This is no ordinary cavern. The glowing lights that scatter across the stone may seem like comfort, but they are not the warmth of fire nor the guiding shine of starlight. They are cold, alien, and eternal, unchanging no matter how many centuries pass. To look upon them too long is to lose a sense of time itself. A wanderer may walk for hours beneath their glow, yet feel as though only minutes have passed. Others claim the opposite, that a few brief moments in Blackreach seem to stretch into eternity, leaving them uncertain whether days or lifetimes have slipped away. This distortion of time is not written in tomes, nor measured by scholars, but it is felt deeply by those who leave. To walk Blackreach is to step outside the ordinary rhythm of the world, into a silence that swallows both past and present. For the Dwemer, perhaps this timelessness was a tool. They mined the cavern, built their forges, and harnessed the energies that glowed within its veins. Yet even their precision and mastery could not erase the strangeness of the place. Their cities, though vast, feel swallowed by the cavern rather than set within it, as though Blackreach tolerated their presence but never welcomed it. To stand among the shattered halls of their ruins is to realize that even the most ambitious works of mortals or near mortals cannot truly tame the world below. The stone remains older, the silence deeper, and the cavern itself more enduring than any forge or machine. For those who stumble upon it in the present age, Blackreach is not a place of mastery, but of humility. The adventurer who boasts upon the surface often finds their courage slipping away here. Even the most hardened warrior feels a stirring of reverence as they walk between the towering fungi and listen to the hum of unseen currents. The mage who believes knowledge conquers all must admit that there are mysteries here that no spell can unravel. And the scholar, who comes seeking answers, often leaves with only deeper questions. In this way, Blackreach humbles equally. It does not play favorites. It cares not for strength, nor wit, nor pride. The beauty of the cavern is undeniable, yet it is not a beauty that comforts. It is sharp, unsettling, almost cruel in its indifference. A glowing mushroom might dazzle the eye, but beneath its roots lurk creatures that hunger for the careless. A crystal might light the path ahead, but its jagged edges remind the traveler that beauty and danger are bound tightly together. This duality lies at the very heart of Blackreach. It is wonder laced with terror, light tangled with shadow, silence pierced by the faint echo of unseen machinery. And so, those who walk its pathways begin to understand. Blackreach is not simply a place, but a mirror. It reflects the wanderer back to themselves, magnifying both awe and fear. In its silence, one hears the beating of their own heart more clearly. In its glow, they see both the grandeur of creation and the fragility of their own smallness. To descend into Blackreach is to step into a dream not your own, a dream that changes you whether you wish it or not. Few emerge untouched. Some leave in awe, their spirits lifted by the glimpse of a world hidden from the sun. Others flee in terror, their minds shaken by the weight of the deep. But all who leave know this truth. Blackreach endures, vast and waiting, its secrets kept safe in shadow until the next soul dares to enter. Thus, we conclude our first glimpse into the hidden world below. Yet this is only the beginning, for deeper within lie not just glowing fungi and Dwemer ruins, but histories written in silence, curses whispered in the dark, and legacies that shape all of Skyrim's fate. Blackreach is not done with us. It has only opened its first door. When one first sets eyes upon the ruins scattered through Blackreach, there is a sense of astonishment that such works could be made in so alien a place. The Dwemer, known to most as the Deep Elves, seemed almost destined to claim dominion over this subterranean realm. Their very name evokes the depths, and their nature was bound to delving, mining, and unearthing what lay hidden beneath the surface of Nirn. For them, Blackreach was not an alien world to be feared. It was a canvas, a foundation upon which to inscribe their mastery of stone, metal, and machine. The remnants of their architecture rise in solemn grandeur even now. Towering pillars pierce the cavern's gloom. Bridges of metal span rivers of darkness, and doors stand sealed with the stubborn strength of forgotten craft. To walk among them is to feel both awe and sorrow. At the precision and permanence of their construction, sorrow at the absence of the builders themselves. No voices echo in the halls, no footsteps ring on the stone. Only the hum of strange machinery and the whisper of unseen forces remind us that once this place was alive with Dwemer purpose. The Dwemer did not simply inhabit Blackreach, they reshaped it. Where nature's stone walls stood silent, they carved them with runes, adorned them with golden trim, and cut roads through the cavern floor. Their cities seemed less like settlements and more like fortresses of thought, places where philosophy, science, and craft joined together in a single unbroken vision. For the Dwemer, Blackreach was not wilderness to be tamed, but material to be worked, a raw form upon which their brilliance could impose order. And yet, for all their mastery, they could not strip the cavern of its mystery. Even as they forged their forges, dug their mines, and built their workshops, the cavern retained its own presence. The eerie glow of the fungi was not dimmed by their lamps, and the hum of the earth was not drowned by their engines. Instead, the two seemed to intertwine. The Dwemer's machines fed on the cavern's energy, and the cavern, in turn, seemed to sing louder through the presence of those machines. Blackreach and the Dwemer became inseparable, a union of stone and brass, silence and hum. The question lingers, what drew the Dwemer so deeply here? Certainly, they sought ore and minerals, for Blackreach is rich with veins of precious metal and the crystalline geodes that pulse faintly with hidden power. But to say they mined alone is to misunderstand them. The Dwemer did not see the earth as a mere resource. They saw in it a reflection of their own boundless curiosity. Blackreach was a laboratory as much as a mine, a place where mysteries of creation might be unraveled and bent to their will. The endless caverns and the strange energies within them were not obstacles, but opportunities. Some scholars believe the Dwemer built here to study the secrets of the Edra and Daedra alike, using the cavern as a controlled environment for their experiments. Others suggest Blackreach itself was once a site of cosmic significance, perhaps even tied to the heart of Lorcan or other primal forces, and the Dwemer, ever daring, sought to grasp those powers. Whatever the truth, one cannot help but feel that the silence of Blackreach holds more than the weight of stone. It holds the residue of countless experiments, failures, and triumphs conducted far beyond mortal reckoning. Walking among the ruins, one senses the paradox of the Dwemer's legacy. On one hand, their works are enduring, forged to resist decay and time. On the other, they themselves have vanished utterly, leaving no trace of their living presence. Their dominion over Blackreach was profound, yet it ended in silence, a silence that mirrors the cavern itself. The Dwemer may have believed they had mastered Blackreach, but perhaps it was Blackreach that mastered them, absorbing their presence into its eternal stillness. Even now, their machines wander the cavern's roads, guardians without masters, endlessly repeating the patterns set for them. The spheres patrol in tireless cycles, the centurions stand at their posts, and the spiders crawl endlessly from their forges. They do not know that their builders are gone. They continue because to stop is beyond them. In this way, the Dwemer remain, shadows preserved in brass and steam, haunting Blackreach with motions that have long lost meaning. And so the cavern tells its tale, of ambition vast enough to carve cities in darkness, of mastery great enough to shape stone into wonder, and of a silence powerful enough to swallow even the proudest of mortals. Blackreach bears the name of the Dwemer, yet it is no longer theirs. Their dominion has become memory, their brilliance turned to ruin, their empire reduced to whispers among ruins that glow in eternal night. The cavern endures, as it always has, keeping its secrets and waiting for new souls to walk its paths. Thus, the story of Dwemer Dominion is not one of victory, but of transience. For though they carve their mark deeply into the heart of Nirn, Blackreach has reclaimed them, as it reclaims all who dare to believe themselves its master. Their machines still echo, their ruins still gleam, but the silence of the deep reminds us that the Dwemer, too, are gone. In the depths of Blackreach, the air itself seems to carry a resonance, as though some hidden mechanism hums endlessly beneath the stone. It is here that one encounters the most enduring legacy of the Dwemer, their machines. Crafted of brass and steel, infused with some secret fusion of magic and engineering, these constructs continue their silent duties long after their masters have vanished. They are the so-called engines of eternity, guardians without masters, endlessly repeating commands that may have lost meaning millennia ago. The first sight of such a machine is always a moment of awe. Perhaps it is the Dwemer spider, small yet ceaseless, scuttling across the stone like a living creature, its many legs moving with uncanny precision. Or perhaps it is the sphere, curled tight as a ball until danger draws it forth, unfolding in a flash of blades and armor. More imposing still are the centurions, towering figures whose heavy steps echo like the heartbeats of the cavern itself. Each construct is both art and weapon, both tool and guardian. They are not simply machines of war, but manifestations of the Dwemer philosophy: precision, permanence, and control. The persistence of these constructs raises an unsettling truth. The Dwemer may be gone, but their presence endures through these eternal servants. Unlike ruins that crumble or records that fade, the constructs are active, moving, patrolling. They enforce boundaries, guard doors, and strike down intruders with unyielding force. To wander Blackreach is to know you are watched by unblinking eyes of metal, judged by inhuman wills, and measured by systems you cannot comprehend. It is as though the Dwemer left behind not merely ruins, but a living memory, one that has not grown dim with time. How do these machines function, and why have they not ceased? Theories abound. Some scholars believe the animating force lies in soul gems, the essence of living creatures captured and bound to eternal servitude. Others whisper that the constructs draw upon the earth itself, siphoning energies from the cavern's strange resonance. The same hum that vibrates faintly through the stone walls. Whatever the source, it is clear that these machines are not bound by the normal limits of mortal craft. They endure because they were designed to endure, built to outlast kingdoms, wars, and even the disappearance of their makers. It is tempting to see them merely as relics, but they are more than that. They are guardians of secrets the Dwemer deemed too precious to leave unguarded. Within the vaults of Blackreach lie untold wonders, lost forges, hidden archives, and mechanisms whose purpose is no longer understood. The constructs stand vigil over these places, as though awaiting the day their masters might return. But no return comes, and so they persist, their vigilance transformed into futility, their duties endless repetitions of a vanished command. There is something deeply haunting in this. A machine without a master is like a song without a singer, yet the melody continues. The centurions stride with mechanical certainty. The spheres spring into action, and the spiders endlessly repair and rebuild. Perhaps in this lies the essence of Dwemer arrogance. The belief that they could create eternity, that their craft could function without them, and that their will could outlast their mortality. In a sense, they succeeded. Yet their success is tinged with tragedy, for the machines do not know their makers are gone. They act without awareness, carrying out duties in the emptiness of a cavern where time no longer holds meaning. Even in the stillness, one can imagine the noise of ages past. The clatter of gears, the hiss of steam, the clang of hammers. All these once filled the halls of Blackreach. The constructs were not lone guardians then, but parts of a living system, their actions integrated with Dwemer industry. Together, they must have moved like clockwork, each machine serving its purpose in a grand design of creation. What remains now are fragments of that design, shadows of an age when the cavern was alive with fire and forge. The persistence of these engines of eternity forces us to consider what the Dwemer sought to achieve. Did they wish to create guardians that would preserve their secrets forever? Did they hope to fashion a legacy immune to decay, something that could defy the turning of the ages? Or did they see themselves in these constructs, striving to replace the fragility of flesh with the permanence of brass and steel? Perhaps the machines are not merely tools, but reflections of the Dwemer soul, cold, unyielding, tireless, and blind to the fate that awaits all mortals. To walk through Blackreach is to feel their presence, not merely in the ruins or the glowing fungi, but in the rhythm of the machines that prowl its paths. They remind us that the Dwemer once stood here, mighty and proud, but also that they are gone. What endures are the engines, eternal in function, eternal in silence, eternal in their incomprehension of loss. The Dwemer may have vanished, but their machines are immortal echoes, endlessly repeating the final stanza of a song whose singer has long since fallen silent. Thus, Blackreach itself becomes a tomb not only for the Dwemer, but for their ambition. The cavern is filled with ruins that speak of triumph, but also with machines that testify to futility. They are engines of eternity indeed, but eternity without meaning, guardians without masters, and monuments to a people whose reach exceeded even their grasp. There are places in Tamriel where silence is not an absence of sound, but a presence unto itself. Blackreach is such a place. To wander its endless caverns is to enter a world where time seems stilled, where every footstep echoes against stone as if rebuking the very notion of intrusion. The silence here is not empty. It is filled with weight, with memory, and with a stillness so profound it feels as though the cavern itself is listening. This is why many call Blackreach not merely a ruin or a cavern, but a silent city, one where the inhabitants have departed, yet their presence lingers in the very air. The first impression upon entering is always the scale. Blackreach is vast beyond comprehension, its ceilings vanishing into shadow even as the glowing fungi strive to illuminate them. Towers rise like petrified trees, their spires breaking the darkness with jagged silhouettes. Bridges span chasms where the ground drops away into abyssal depths, their arches worn but enduring. All around lie remnants of streets and plazas, the bones of a city that once thrived beneath the earth. One cannot help but imagine the Dwemer walking these paths, their voices mingling with the hiss of steam and the clang of hammer on anvil. Yet now, nothing remains but stillness. The silence is deceptive. At first, it feels total, as though the cavern has swallowed every sound. Yet, as one lingers, faint murmurs seem to emerge from the stillness. A drip of water falling from unseen heights. The crackle of bioluminescent fungi shedding faint spores into the air. The distant groan of ancient stone settling under the weight of millennia. And, if one listens closely, something deeper, a resonance low and constant, like the hum of a hidden engine or the faint memory of voices long gone. It is in these whispers that Blackreach speaks, not with words but with presence, reminding the wanderer that this was once a living city. To walk its empty plazas is to feel both awe and unease. The architecture, even in ruin, exudes purpose. The Dwemer were not builders of beauty for its own sake, but of order. Every angle, every corridor, every bridge was calculated, part of a design whose full scope we may never comprehend. And yet, in the silence, that order feels broken. The structures endure, but they serve no master. The bridges span nothing but emptiness. The plazas hold no gatherings. The forges are cold. The city stands like a skeleton, its bones arranged, but its soul departed. Some claim that the silence of Blackreach is oppressive because it is haunted, not by ghosts in the conventional sense, but by memory itself. The Dwemer are absent, yet their presence lingers in ways more profound than mere ruins. It is said that in the quiet, one can almost hear them, the murmur of voices in forgotten tongues, the rhythm of industry echoing faintly in the air. Perhaps these are tricks of the mind, born of solitude and the cavern's eerie acoustics. Yet perhaps they are more. Perhaps Blackreach remembers, its stones retaining the impressions of those who once walked its halls. In such a place, memory itself feels alive, and silence is its chosen tone. The stillness also magnifies the sense of being watched. Even when no Dwemer constructs stir, even when the halls seem deserted, the silence presses upon the wanderer like unseen eyes. It is a silence that questions, that judges, that refuses to let one feel alone. The glowing fungi, the endless caverns, the looming towers, all seem to conspire in this, creating the sense that Blackreach itself is sentient, that it regards the living with the cold patience of stone. Some who have lingered too long claim that the silence can drive one to madness, for in it they begin to hear not only echoes of the past, but whispers of their own thoughts reflected back, distorted and strange. Yet for all its weight, there is beauty here as well. The glowing mushrooms cast a dreamlike radiance, their blues and greens painting the cavern in hues no surface forest could match. Crystals catch the light and scatter it into shimmering patterns across the stone. Pools of still water mirror the fungi above, creating the illusion of an inverted world. A second Blackreach reflected below. In these moments, the silence feels less oppressive, more like a sacred hush, as though the cavern were a temple and the wanderer an intruder upon holy ground. This duality, beauty and dread, awe and unease, defines the silent city. It is at once magnificent and terrible, a monument both to Dwemer genius and to their fall. The silence speaks to the fragility of ambition, to the inevitability of emptiness. It is as though Blackreach itself is a meditation carved in stone, a reminder that all things built by mortal hands, no matter how enduring, will one day be swallowed by silence. To wander here is to confront more than ruins. It is to confront the silence that awaits all things, the stillness into which empires, cities, and voices eventually vanish. Blackreach does not speak in words, yet it teaches in its silence. And what it teaches is this: even the mightiest city can become a tomb, even the loudest voices can fade into whispers, and even the greatest ambitions can dissolve into stillness. Thus, Blackreach stands eternal, not because it is alive, but because its silence endures. A silence heavy with memory, filled with echoes, and haunting in its persistence. To those who enter, it is a reminder that time is patient, that silence is inevitable, and that even the deepest ambitions of mortals cannot escape the stilling hand of eternity. If Blackreach is a silent city, then it is not a silence empty of sound, but a silence filled with echoes. To wander its halls is to be reminded that the absence of life is never truly vacant. The air holds memory, and the stone seems to listen. Those who descend into its depths often speak of whispers, faint murmurs carried on unseen currents. Some dismiss these as tricks of acoustics, the way vast caverns amplify and distort sound. But others, who linger too long beneath the glowing canopy of fungi, swear that the echoes are not natural at all. They speak of voices that are not their own, words and languages half-remembered, laughter or screams that vanish the moment one turns to find their source. It is said that the deeper one goes, the stronger the echoes become. In the upper reaches of Blackreach, they are faint like distant memory. But in the lower halls, the collapsed forges, the sealed archives, the chambers where light barely reaches, the echoes grow bolder. There, the silence seems to lean close, as though whispering directly into the ear. Travelers report hearing footsteps behind them, though none follow. They describe the sound of hammers striking anvils, though no forge burns. Some even claim to hear voices calling their names. Whether these are memories embedded in the stone, remnants of Dwemer souls, or illusions crafted by the mind under strain, none can say. What is undeniable is the effect these echoes have upon those who listen. In the stillness of Blackreach, the boundary between sound and thought begins to blur. A traveler may hear a whisper and dismiss it, only to realize it was their own doubt, spoken back to them in unfamiliar cadence. Others claim that the echoes reveal things they could not have otherwise known. Fragments of Dwemer speech, glimpses of conversations long past, even warnings of dangers yet to come. One tale tells of an adventurer who heard a voice guiding him away from a collapsing bridge. He survived, but he left the cavern convinced that the stones themselves had spoken to him. Scholars debate whether these echoes are supernatural. Some argue they're the natural product of the cavern's strange acoustics, shaped by the immense hollowness and the resonance of crystalline deposits scattered throughout the stone. Others insist they are more psychic imprints, a kind of memory etched into the bones of the world. For if the Dwemer vanished in an instant, their collective presence torn from Mundus, might not some trace of that catastrophe linger here, where they once thrived in greatest number? Blackreach may be their tomb, but it may also be their voice, speaking in echoes because it has no other tongue left to use. Among the Nords, there is an old superstition that Blackreach devours voices. They believe that to speak too loudly within its halls is to offer one's words to the stone, where they will be trapped forever, repeating as whispers to haunt future travelers. This belief has given rise to ritual. Some enter the cavern in silence, refusing to speak a single word, lest their own voice return to them in twisted form. Others leave offerings, coins, runes, or carved talismans, in hopes of appeasing whatever force dwells within the echo. None of these customs are recorded in official histories, yet they endure, passed among miners, explorers, and those who have braved the dark beneath Skyrim. More unsettling are the stories of those who did not return unchanged. A number of adventurers who emerged from Blackreach after long exposure claimed to have heard the Dwemer themselves. They spoke of entire conversations, of figures glimpsed in the corner of the eye, of the sense that they had walked not merely among ruins, but among the living ghosts of an absent people. Some left with knowledge they could not explain, fragments of engineering principles, or words in the Dwemer tongue. Others left broken, their minds fractured by voices that would not cease even after returning to the surface. These poor souls often wandered into solitude, claiming that the echoes had followed them, that the whispers of Blackreach clung like shadows and would not let them go. To the thoughtful wanderer, the echoes serve as a reflection of mortality itself. They remind us that the deeds of mortals never truly vanish. Every word spoken, every action taken, leaves some trace. For most, those traces fade quickly, but for the Dwemer, a people so proud, so consumed with their own designs, the trace lingers longer. Their voices may be gone, yet their echoes endure, caught in the stone of Blackreach like insects in amber. To hear those echoes is to be reminded that nothing is ever fully lost, though it may be transformed beyond recognition. In this way, Blackreach is less a ruin and more a memory given shape. Its silence is not empty, but full of resonance, and its echoes are not merely sound, but reminders. They remind us that all civilizations leave something behind, even if only in whispers. They remind us that even the loudest voices can fade into distortion, and that the line between memory and madness is perilously thin. To linger here is to risk hearing not only the voices of the past, but one's own voice returned in unfamiliar form. Thus, The echoes of Blackreach remain both mystery and warning. They are proof that the Dwemer, though vanished, are not entirely gone. Their absence is filled with presence, their silence with sound. And in those echoes, we are left to wonder, are we hearing what once was? Or are we hearing what still is, the faint murmur of a people who have not vanished, but who dwell somewhere beyond our comprehension, speaking still through the stone of their greatest city? After the echoes fade, when the whispers of the stone quiet into stillness, another voice rises within Blackreach. This voice is not of stone or memory, but of life, fragile, luminous, and strange. It is the glow of the cavern itself, the unearthly radiance of plants that do not belong to the surface world. Here, where sunlight has never shone, the cavern is lit by the blossoms of fungi, the shimmer of moss that clings to every wall, and above all, by the strange and delicate plant known as the crimson nirnroot. Unlike its common cousin, the crimson nirnroot carries the color of blood in its veins. Its leaves shimmer with a red luminescence that seems almost otherworldly, as if the plant itself remembers something deeper than the soil in which it grows. To stumble upon a patch of these roots in the still waters of Blackreach is to feel one has entered a dream, or perhaps a shrine. The air hums faintly around them, and the rippling glow they cast across the dark pools creates the illusion that the cavern itself is alive, breathing in slow rhythm. Legends claim that nirnroot is not a plant at all, but a fragment of Nirn herself, a living echo of the world's own heart. If this is true, then what does it mean that crimson nirnroot flourishes only here, in this place of silence and ruin? Some scholars speculate that its mutation is born of Dwemer influence, experiments in alchemy, or exposure to strange energies that saturated the cavern. Others whisper that the crimson variety is older than the Dwemer themselves, that it sprouted from tears shed by the world when the deep elves sought to rewrite the laws of creation. Its color, they say, is not accident but memory, the memory of sacrifice, of blood spilled across history. The discovery of crimson nirnroot has long puzzled alchemists. Its properties are elusive, its essence unstable. Those who study it note its volatile hum, the faint sound it emits, as though it sings quietly to itself in tones too low for mortal ears. Gatherers have reported that its vibrations can be felt in the fingertips, and that the act of uprooting it is accompanied by a sensation like pulling at the fabric of the cavern itself. Many have attempted to replicate its growth, carrying samples to the surface, but nearly all such efforts end in failure. The crimson nirnroot seems bound to Blackreach, as though the cavern itself is its cradle and its guardian. Removed from its home, it withers, its glow fading until it becomes nothing more than a hollow husk. In this, the crimson nirnroot reflects the Dwemer themselves. Both are bound to the depths. Both are mysteries that cannot be separated from Blackreach without losing their essence. Just as the Dwemer vanished from the surface, leaving only ruins and speculation, so too does the crimson nirnroot refuse to survive outside its hidden world. To walk among these plants is to be reminded that Blackreach is not simply a tomb of the vanished, but a living ecosystem shaped by forces older and stranger than mortal reckoning. The atmosphere of the cavern is transformed by these glowing roots. Pools of water gleam with their light, casting red reflections against stalagmites and forgotten stonework. Shadows dance in rhythm with the flickering glow, and the cavern becomes something more than a ruin. It becomes a sanctuary. Many who witness it describe the site as holy, though they struggle to name the god whose shrine it might be. Others find the crimson glow unsettling, as if it carries with it the weight of unspoken secrets. In either case, the experience of standing before such plants lingers long after one has left, like a dream half remembered. Travelers have long noted that crimson nirnroot often grows near places of significance, near ancient forges, collapsed libraries, or hidden vaults. Some take this as coincidence, others as omen. A Nord legend claims that the roots grow only where blood has been spilled unjustly, that they are nourished by sorrow and betrayal. Another tale insists that they bloom in places where the earth itself is wounded, their glow a kind of healing scar. Whether truth or myth, these stories reinforce the sense that Crimson Nirnroot is not merely a plant but a symbol of life persisting in darkness, of memory encoded in living form. There are those who believe the roots hold answers, that if one could unlock their secret, the fate of the Dwemer might be revealed. Perhaps their glow carries fragments of Dwemery essence, or perhaps they grew in response to the Great Disappearance, as though the world itself mourned and left a mark. Alchemists who distill its essence report visions, fleeting images of machinery, voices like the faintest echoes, glimpses of stars seen through impossible angles. Such accounts are inconsistent, often dismissed as hallucination, yet they persist across centuries, too common to ignore entirely. In the end, the Crimson Nirnroot remains what it has always been, a living mystery, neither fully explained nor fully understood. It is a reminder that even in the deepest dark, life finds a way to bloom, and that beauty can emerge even in the shadow of ruin. To walk among its glow is to feel that the cavern itself breathes, that the silence of Blackreach is not void but womb. Here, in the presence of these glowing plants, one realizes that Blackreach is not merely a memory of what was lost, but a promise of what endures. If the Crimson Nirnroot is Blackreach's most celebrated marvel, it is but one voice in a vast chorus of living wonders. To wander deeper into the cavern is to find oneself in a world that feels both alien and oddly familiar. A place where plants imitate forests, where stone masquerades as soil, and where fungi rise like ancient trees, painting the darkness in hues no surface meadow has ever known. Blackreach is not barren. It is a garden cultivated not by mortal hands, but by time, silence, and secrecy. The fungal groves are the most striking. Towering stalks reach upward toward the cavern roof, their broad caps glowing faintly with blue and green luminescence. Some stretch higher than city walls, their gills releasing spores that drift like drifting snow, glowing softly as they fall. To walk among these groves is to feel dwarfed, as though one has entered a primeval forest preserved in some eternal twilight. The air is thick with the scent of damp stone and earthy musk, yet carried within it is also a sweetness, subtle but unmistakable, like the fragrance of moss after rain. Scholars speculate that these fungi are not merely passive flora, but part of a greater living network. The spores, they suggest, may carry messages between colonies, or even between plants and the cavern itself. Wanderers sometimes describe the uncanny sense of being observed while among the glowing stalks, though no eyes are ever seen. Perhaps this is imagination, or perhaps the cavern's garden has its own hidden awareness, rooted in connections deeper than mortal comprehension. The spores themselves have long fascinated alchemists. Collected in vials, they shimmer faintly even outside the cavern, retaining a soft glow for days. Some mixtures brewed with them have been reported to heighten awareness or induce dreams, visions of endless caverns and strange machinery turning in silence. Others claim the spores carry healing properties, though always with a price: dizziness, blurred sight, or a lingering disorientation that blurs the boundary between waking and dream. It is as though the spores are a gift from the cavern, but one that demands respect, reminding those who use them that no knowledge comes without risk. Interwoven with the towering fungi are carpets of moss and lichen, clinging to the stone as though they were born from it. Their colors are a tapestry of greens, golds, and blues, shifting under the cavern's dim glow. Some of these mosses emit light of their own, casting halos upon the rocks they cover, transforming jagged cliffs into luminous altars. To look upon them is to see the cavern itself clothed in a living skin, as if Blackreach is not stone alone, but a creature draped in its own verdant mantle. In many places, the fungal gardens grow close to ancient Dwemer structures, silent forges, collapsed towers, forgotten stairways that lead nowhere. The sight is striking. The clean lines of Dwemer stone, overtaken by soft waves of moss and towering mushrooms, their glow spilling across rusted pipes and corroded gears. It is as if the cavern is reclaiming its body, enfolding the remnants of its lost children in a quiet embrace. The living world here is not separate from the ruins, but inextricably bound to them, as if the death of one gave rise to the flourishing of the other. Legends among the Nords tell of travelers who became lost within these fungal forests, wandering in circles as though the grove itself shifted around them. Some never returned, while others emerged days later, speaking of visions, of stone that moved like flesh, of spores that whispered names, of a deep voice beneath the cavern calling to them. Skeptics dismiss these tales as the result of disorientation and hunger, yet the consistency of such stories suggests something more. Perhaps the cavern speaks not in words, but in spores and echoes, guiding or misleading as it chooses. The Dwemer must have known this garden well. Some ruins bear carvings that suggest a reverence for the fungi, depictions of stalks stylized like trees in forgotten murals. Did they see them as resources to be harvested and studied, or as symbols of the cavern's mystery? The truth is lost, as are all Dwemer secrets, but one cannot help but imagine the deep elves walking these glowing groves, their machines humming nearby, their minds seeking meaning in the same luminous stalks that captivate wanderers today. There is also a silence in these gardens that is different from the emptiness of stone halls. It is not absence, but stillness, the quiet of a place alive, waiting, growing. The spores drift endlessly, like stars in a subterranean night sky, and the soft glow of moss turns even the darkest corners into sanctuaries. Here, one feels less like an intruder among ruins and more like a guest in an ancient temple, a temple not of gods, but of life itself, enduring in shadow. And yet, beauty here is not without danger. Some fungi drip with toxins, their glowing caps concealing poisons potent enough to fell a careless hand. Others release clouds of spores that suffocate rather than enlighten. The Garden of Blackreach is generous, but it is not tame. It demands humility, respect, and caution. To treat it otherwise is to risk being swallowed by the very silence that nurtures its growth. In the end, these fungal forests and glowing mosses stand as testament to resilience. They remind all who wander here that life is not confined to the light of the sun. It finds its way even in the deepest dark, weaving forests from stone, crafting beauty from ruin. To walk among them is to learn that Blackreach is not a place of death alone, but of balance, where silence and song, ruin and growth, despair and wonder intertwine. The Dwemer may be gone, but their cavern breathes on, its gardens whispering a truth older than empires, that life endures, even where none would expect it to. For all its gardens of stone and luminous spores, Blackreach is not empty. Though the Dwemer have been absent for an age, their creations endure, tireless, unyielding, and silent. The stillness of the cavern is never complete, for hidden in the shadows, in the broken forges and hollow towers, the watchers remain. They are not alive in the way moss or fungi live, yet they persist, guardians of a vanished people whose orders echo endlessly across centuries. To wander Blackreach is to walk under their gaze, whether one perceives it or not. The Dwemer constructs are the first and most obvious of these watchers. Spheres, centurions, and spiders, crafted from bronze and brass, patrol forgotten halls and bridges as though their masters might return at any moment. Their metal glows faintly in the cavern's bioluminescence, greenish light playing across their mechanical limbs. When still, they resemble statues half buried in moss, their gears silent, their eyes dark. But step too near, or disturb what they guard, and they awaken with the grinding hiss of steam and the harsh scrape of metal on stone. What purpose do they serve, these automatons? Do they remember their commands? Or do they act only from mechanisms wound long ago? Their patrols, nothing more than echoes of orders that can never be updated? Scholars debate whether Dwemer constructs act with true awareness, or if their seeming vigilance is merely illusion. Yet to those who meet them in Blackreach, there is little comfort in the distinction. Whether driven by thought or by clockwork, their spears and blades strike just the same, their silence unbroken as they carry out tasks given by masters who are dust. The sound of them carries far in the cavern. The rhythmic clang of metal footsteps, the hiss of steam, the grinding of gears. Many travelers speak of hearing such sounds long before they ever glimpse their source, echoing off stone walls and magnified until it seems the entire cavern is alive with hidden machines. At times, one may see their glow in the distance, like lanterns moving slowly through the dark. They do not call out, do not question, do not rest. They only watch, and when necessary, they act. Yet the constructs are not the only watchers in Blackreach. Others dwell here too, living, though twisted beyond recognition. The Falmer, once the proud snow elves, now blind and broken, claim the deeper reaches as their domain. Where the constructs move with mechanical inevitability, the Falmer move with malice and hunger. Their presence is felt in the sudden silence of the fungal groves, in the faint chitter of their beasts, in the strange bone totems that mark their territory. Unlike the Dwemer machines, they are not impartial. They are predators, and to them, the wanderer is prey. The Falmer's blindness makes them no less dangerous. Their ears are keen, their steps light, their instincts sharpened by centuries in darkness. In the glow of mushrooms and moss, their pale forms move like phantoms, heads tilted, listening to the faintest sound. Some describe the terror of realizing too late that a Falmer has been tracking them for hours, silent as a shadow, waiting for the moment to strike. Where the constructs embody order, the Falmer embody chaos, remnants of a tragic history twisted into violence and fear. Together, these two forces make Blackreach a place of constant vigilance. The constructs guard without question, holding to their endless routines. The Falmer stalk with cunning and rage, shaping their own dominion within the ruins of their oppressors. It is as though the cavern itself has given rise to two kinds of watchers, one born of brass and steam, the other of flesh and sorrow. Both, in their own way, ensure that Blackreach is never truly silent, never truly unobserved. There are stories, whispered among Nords and scholars alike, of travelers who dared too far into Blackreach and felt eyes upon them, even when none could be seen. Some say the cavern itself watches, that the spores drifting in the air carry awareness, that the moss listens to footsteps, that the fungi lean toward those who pass, as if tracking their motion. Whether this is imagination or truth, one cannot say. But the watchers construct, Falmer, or something deeper still, ensure that Blackreach is never a place for the careless. And yet, despite the danger, there is awe in this vigilance. To see a centurion rise from stillness, steam hissing from its joints as it turns its glowing gaze upon intruders, is to witness the persistence of Dwemer genius. To glimpse the Falmer moving soundlessly through the fungal forest is to encounter living echoes of a people thought extinct, their suffering preserved in every step. Both are reminders of the past, one of ambition and mastery, the other of betrayal and loss, and both are bound to Blackreach as surely as the fungi and moss. Here, silence is never simple. It is always a silence with eyes, a silence that listens, a silence ready to awaken. To walk Blackreach is to feel oneself measured, weighed, observed by forces that care nothing for mortal journeys. The cavern holds its secrets close, and the watchers, mechanical or flesh, serve as its guardians, ensuring that few who trespass leave unmarked. Perhaps this is why so many describe Blackreach not only as wondrous, but as unsettling. It is a place where beauty thrives, but never without shadow. The glowing gardens are never free of hidden movement. The ancient ruins are never wholly abandoned, and the silence, though deep, is never alone. Thus the wanderer learns. In Blackreach, every step is seen, every sound is heard. The cavern does not forget, and its watchers, silent though they may be, never rest. Beyond the patrolling constructs and lurking Falmer lies something more elusive in Blackreach. A sense of presence that cannot be touched, cannot be fought, cannot be easily named. The cavern is vast enough to swallow whole armies. Yet many who enter speak of feeling crowded, as though unseen multitudes stand at the edges of perception. The glow of fungi, the drift of spores, the constant echo of water, all seem to conspire into something resembling awareness. Some call it imagination, others madness. But those who have lingered too long in Blackreach describe it in simpler terms. The cavern whispers. The whispers are not words, not truly. They are impressions, shadows of thought that slip between echoes, subtle enough to be dismissed, yet persistent enough to unsettle. A wanderer may pause, heart quickening, certain that someone has spoken their name, only to find silence waiting. Others report hearing fragments of voices, as though half a conversation carries on in the distance. Some even claim to hear the rhythmic chants of the Dwemer, echoing from a past so long vanished it cannot possibly remain. And yet the sound lingers, half real, like a dream one cannot shake. What are these whispers? Some scholars suggest they are no more than the product of echoes, magnified and distorted by the cavern's immensity. Blackreach is vast, its domes stretching higher than cathedrals, its halls stretching farther than cities. A drip of water can ring out like a voice. The shift of stone can sound like a sigh. Yet many who have heard the whispers insist it is not mere echo. They describe a quality too deliberate, too personal. A voice that speaks not into the air, but into the mind. Others propose that the spores drifting endlessly in the cavern's air carry more than light. The fungi of Blackreach are unlike any in the surface world, vast as trees, radiant with unnatural glow. Perhaps their luminescence is not merely physical, but psychic, releasing subtle influences that stir thought, that implant feelings or impressions into those who breathe them. To linger among them is to dream with eyes open, to walk through visions that slip between waking and sleeping. The whispers then could be no more than hallucinations, strange dreams given voice. Yet again, there are too many accounts, too many similarities between stories, to dismiss them entirely. And then, of course, there are those who claim the whispers belong not to spores nor echoes, but to the cavern itself. Blackreach, they say, remembers. It is not merely a place, but a vessel, a living memory of all that has transpired within it. The disappearance of the Dwemer, the agony of the Falmer, the endless trudging of constructs. All of these sorrows and labors have seeped into the stone, echoing endlessly, too deep to ever fade. To walk Blackreach, then, is not simply to walk through space, but through history, through voices that cannot rest, that cannot release themselves. Some of the most chilling accounts describe whispers that go beyond mere sounds, that feel like intrusions of thought. Travelers speak of sudden certainty that they are being led, that their steps are not their own. A path taken for no reason, a door opened without memory of choosing, a bridge crossed though instinct urged retreat. The cavern guides them, or so they feel, though never toward safety. The whispers in these accounts are not benevolent. They lead deeper, always deeper, toward chambers where light falters and shadows stretch long. Few who have followed willingly have returned to describe where those paths lead. The Falmer, too, are said to be shaped by these whispers. Some believe their madness is not solely the result of betrayal and blindness, but of the cavern's ceaseless murmur. Their shrieks and chittering cries may not be random, but responses, conversations with a voice only they can hear. In this theory, the Falmer are not merely inhabitants of Blackreach, but its disciples, bound not only by their suffering, but by devotion to something larger. If true, then the whispers are more than echoes of memory. They are commands. There are even legends, whispered in hushed tones by surface dwellers, that the heart of Lorcan, once hidden deep within the earth, once bound to Dwemer ambition, may have left behind traces of its power in Blackreach. Though the heart itself is gone, unbound from Mundus, perhaps its resonance lingers in the deep stone, its pulse echoing still, subtle but inescapable. Could the whispers, then, be fragments of the gods' sundered will? A divine heartbeat felt as thought, urging, luring, haunting all who trespass? And yet, for all the fear the whispers inspire, they also hold allure. Many describe a strange comfort in them, as though the cavern itself offers companionship in its solitude. To be guided by whispers may feel perilous, but it may also feel intimate, like being known, like being remembered. Some claim the whispers soothe them, leading them gently towards safety, warning of dangers unseen. Others insist the whispers share knowledge, fleeting but profound, though upon waking from Blackreach's dreamlike haze, the memory of such truths slips away like mist. Perhaps this is the most haunting truth of all, that the whispers of Blackreach are neither wholly benign nor wholly malevolent, but both at once. They reflect the cavern itself, a place of beauty and terror, of light and shadow, of history and silence. To hear them is to brush against a boundary, to sense that the world is more alive, more aware than it pretends. Blackreach watches, Blackreach listens, and through its whispers, it speaks. For those who venture here, silence is not empty. It is full, thick with unseen presence. To walk in Blackreach is to feel not only observed, but addressed, as though the cavern, ancient and eternal, has chosen to notice you, if only for a moment. And in that moment, one is left with a question that lingers long after leaving the cavern behind. Was it your mind that whispered to itself, or was it Blackreach speaking quietly from the deep? Among the many tales of Blackreach, few are as haunting as those of the lost expeditions. While the cavern's mysteries inspire wonder and curiosity, they also beckon the daring, or the desperate, to test its depths. From ambitious scholars of the College of Winterhold to treasure seekers, mercenary bands, and even the occasional Thane's company of soldiers, countless groups have entered Blackreach in search of knowledge, riches, or glory. Their fates are woven into the silence of the cavern, lingering like footprints in dust that will never be swept away. At first glance, these stories appear fragmented. A journal found beside a skeleton, a rusting sword clutched in a skeletal hand, a satchel abandoned in haste near a collapsed passage. Yet when these fragments are gathered together, they form a chorus of caution, a grim reminder that Blackreach swallows not only men, but the very hopes they carried with them. One of the earliest recorded expeditions into Blackreach came not long after the fall of the Dwemer. A band of Nord adventurers, fired by tales of vanished treasures, descended into the ruins through Alftan's deep halls. They carried with them the pride of warriors who had braved dragons, the confidence of men accustomed to conquest. Yet pride and steel proved powerless against the cavern's vastness. Their trail fades within days, their final fate known only through the bones scattered near one of the great fungal groves. No weapon marks them, no enemy remains nearby. Some whisper they simply lay down and did not rise again. They were eroded by the cavern's oppressive silence. Centuries later, scholars of Winterhold mounted a more deliberate expedition. Armed with quills, parchment, and Dwemer lexicons, they believed their knowledge and discipline would succeed where brute force had failed. Their writings survive in part, preserved in waterproof cases. Careful notations of glowing fungi, of Falmer architecture, of tonal resonances within the cavern walls. Yet their records end abruptly. The last entries grow increasingly disjointed, describing sounds that could not be placed, shadows that lingered too long, voices half heard. The final words, scrawled hastily in the margin, speak only of a door that should not be opened. Beyond that silence, their bodies were never found. And then there are the mercenaries, the treasure seekers, the restless souls who entered Blackreach seeking riches or fame. These are the stories most often told in taverns, exaggerated in firelit boasts. Yet many of those tales hold kernels of truth, for gold was indeed sought, and in some cases found. Dwemer relics, glowing crystals, and fragments of tonal devices lie scattered through Blackreach's halls. But for every relic brought back, there are 10 left behind, guarded by Falmer or constructs, their owners slain before they could claim victory. The mercenaries, like the scholars, are remembered not for triumph, but for disappearance. Perhaps the most chilling tales belong to the expeditions that never ended at all. Whole groups have vanished into Blackreach without trace, leaving behind no journals, no relics, not even bones. They seem to have been erased, consumed by the cavern as though they had never been. Some say they joined the Falmer, enslaved or twisted into their ranks. Others whisper darker theories, that the cavern itself claimed them, folding them into its whispers, turning them into part of its memory. Whatever the truth, their absence is the strongest testimony to Blackreach's hunger. There are also personal accounts, lone survivors who stumbled back into daylight, broken in body and mind. One such man, a miner from Dawnstar, returned blind and raving, his skin marked with strange burns that glowed faintly in the dark. He spoke of lights that moved like serpents through the cavern air, of being pursued by shadows that touched him without form. His words were dismissed as madness, yet his burns remained until the day he died. Another survivor, a woman from Windhelm, returned silent, refusing to speak at all. She lived many years in quiet, but whenever a cavern's drip echoed near her, she would shudder violently and flee the room. These fragments, these half-remembered voices of the lost, remind us that Blackreach is not merely a place, but a trial. It is not welcome, it does not yield, it only waits. To descend into its depths is to gamble not only with one's life, but with one's memory, one's very sense of self. For the cavern does not merely slay. It erases, drawing men and women into its silence, leaving behind only whispers where voices once rang out. What compels such expeditions? Perhaps it is the eternal human hunger for knowledge, the same hunger that drove the Dwemer themselves into the heart of the world. Perhaps it is greed, or glory, or desperation. But perhaps, too, it is the cavern's own pull. Perhaps Blackreach calls to those who dream of more than the surface can offer, luring them downward with promises unspoken. And perhaps that is the cruelest truth. The lost expeditions are not accidents of fate, but sacrifices to a voice that never ceases whispering. Even now, explorers continue to descend, armed with torches, steel, and the arrogance of those who believe they will succeed where others have failed. Some may return with relics, with crystals, with shards of knowledge scribbled hastily into books. But for every one who returns, 10 remain behind, their stories swallowed into the stone. Blackreach does not reveal its secrets freely. It demands payment, and more often than not, the price is everything. The lost expeditions are not simply tales of failure. They are reminders. Blackreach is not a place of conquest, but of surrender. It cannot be mastered, cannot be tamed. Those who enter its halls do not bend it to their will. They vanish into it as countless voices have before. And in the stillness of its glowing halls, one cannot help but wonder, are the whispers of Blackreach the cavern itself, or the voices of those expeditions, still speaking, long after their bodies have turned to dust? The tales of the lost expeditions linger, not merely as tragedies, but as echoes, reverberating across the lands of Skyrim and beyond. Every disappearance, every broken company of scholars, warriors, or dreamers leaves more than empty spaces in the cavern's halls. They leave behind whispers that travel upward into taverns and hearth fires, into the ink of scribes, and into the cautionary tales parents murmur to their children. Blackreach does not only consume, it teaches, though its lessons are written in the silence of the dead. The surface world, for all its clamor and noise, cannot ignore the cavern beneath it. Miners speak of it in hushed tones, as though mentioning Blackreach too loudly will awaken something listening in the depths. Scholars debate it endlessly, Yet their debates are riddled with absences, gaps where the truth might have been had expeditions returned with more than fragments. And warriors, no matter how brave, often pause before descent, as if sensing that courage alone is not enough when facing a place that has devoured so many before them. What, then, do these failures teach us? At first, they seem to speak only of futility. Blackreach appears to mock the very concept of mastery, stripping away the tools of warriors and the wisdom of scholars alike. But there is more here than mockery. In each lost expedition, in each silence that follows, there lies a mirror held to mortal ambition. It reflects back not strength, but hubris. It asks the question that few dare voice aloud. How much of our striving is truly for wisdom, and how much is for dominion, for conquest, for possession of things that were never meant to be ours? The journals left behind, the scattered notes of explorers who vanished into the dark, capture this truth more eloquently than any grand historian. At their beginnings, such journals brim with optimism, filled with careful descriptions, bold plans, and confident assertions. Yet as the entries continue, hope falters. Observations grow sparse, handwriting grows erratic, until at last the pages fall silent. These are not merely records of failure, but portraits of transformation, from certainty to doubt, from ambition to despair, from life to silence. The progression itself is a testament to the cavern's power. Blackreach does not need to strike with claws or blades. It conquers by erosion, wearing down the will as water wears down stone. In this way, the failures of the expeditions have become part of Blackreach's myth. Their silences are woven into the cavern's identity, so much so that to speak of Blackreach without acknowledging its lost explorers is to miss its essence. When a Nord bard tells of a vanished company who never saw daylight again, he is not merely recounting loss. He is affirming a truth, that some places are greater than the men who enter them, that some mysteries remain not because they are unsolvable, but because they are meant to remain mysteries. Yet these echoes of failure are not only warnings. They also inspire. For every lost expedition, another arises, driven by the same hunger. The failures, paradoxically, feed the dreamers. Each silence challenges the next scholar to be cleverer, the next adventurer to be braver, the next dreamer to succeed where others faltered. And so, in a strange, cyclical way, the failures sustain Blackreach's allure. Were it fully mapped, fully known, its mysteries cataloged, and its secrets tamed, would anyone descend into it again? Perhaps not. Its power lies in what it withholds, and in the echoes of those who vanished seeking it. There are whispers, too, that failure in Blackreach is not truly an end. Some theorists of the arcane suggest that those who vanish entirely, without journals, without bones, are not lost but transformed. They speak of a resonance, a tonal absorption, where voices are not silenced but drawn into the cavern itself. In this view, the whispers one hears in the glowing groves are not hallucinations, but the faint remnants of voices absorbed over centuries. Failure, then, is not destruction but assimilation, a strange merging into the memory of the place. It is a chilling idea, but also oddly comforting. Perhaps those who disappear are not gone, but remain, whispering still, part of Blackreach forever. For the surface dwellers, however, the lesson is more practical. The failures of expeditions serve as boundaries, shaping behavior, urging caution. Miners refuse to dig too deep, lest they awaken the path to the cavern. Families warn their sons and daughters of the cavern's hunger, shaping caution into culture. Even the guilds and temples, in their own way, acknowledge Blackreach's shadow. Few priests will bless an expedition bound below, and few mercenary contracts lack the ominous clause. Should we not return, let it be known we entered Blackreach. In this way, the echoes of failure ripple outward, changing not only individuals but societies. And yet, beneath the warnings and the fear, there remains fascination. Stories of failure do not merely repel, they attract. Every echo of loss is also a call, faint but insistent, drawing new souls to the edge of the abyss. For failure, in its own strange way, is proof that Blackreach is real, that it holds mysteries worth dying for. In a world where so many legends fade into dust, Blackreach endures, preserved by the silence of those who never returned. So the failures speak still, their echoes shaping how we dream and how we fear. They remind us that ambition can blind, that knowledge can consume, that courage can lead not to glory, but to erasure. Yet they also remind us that mystery has its own kind of beauty, its own form of power. To stand on the threshold of Blackreach is to hear those echoes. And in that moment, one must decide, will you turn back, carrying the lesson of failure as wisdom, or will you step forward, adding your voice to the whispers, another echo waiting to be heard by those who come after? Amid the sorrowful echoes of failure, amid the silence of those who never returned, Blackreach reveals another face, one that is not only terrifying, but profoundly beautiful. To step into its fungal gardens is to feel, for a moment, that one has stumbled not into a cavern, but into another world entirely, a world where light and life follow rules that the surface cannot comprehend. These gardens, glowing softly in shades of azure, violet, and pale green, are not gardens in the sense we know, yet they're cultivated by the cavern itself, shaped by slow time and deep magic into a landscape that is both alien and breathtaking. Imagine standing in the stillness, surrounded by towering mushrooms whose caps spread wide like the roofs of great halls. Their stalks glimmer faintly, drawing pale reflections upon the cavern's damp stone floor. Beneath them, smaller fungi cluster like flowers, their edges pulsing gently as though breathing. Pools of phosphorescent water mirror the strange radiance, casting ripples of color across the air. It is quiet here, yet not silent. There is a hum, faint, low, and constant, the sound of growth, of unseen forces weaving life from stone. To wander through these gardens is to be reminded that Blackreach is not only a graveyard of ambition, but also a cradle of life. Though no sunlight reaches these depths, though no breeze stirs its still air, the cavern teems with vitality. One might see tiny creatures, pale and eyeless, scuttling across roots that snake like veins through the rock. Others swim in glowing streams, their bodies translucent, flickering as though filled with fireflies. Even the air itself feels alive, carrying the faint scent of damp moss and minerals, a fragrance foreign yet oddly soothing. These gardens are not random. There's a pattern to them, though subtle. The fungi seem to bloom along hidden lines, as though guided by threads of power woven through the cavern. Some scholars, reflecting on this, argue that the gardens are not natural at all, but tonal constructs, echoes of Dwemer song that linger even after their makers have vanished. In this view, every glowing mushroom is a note, every luminous pool a chord, and together they form a living symphony sustained by the cavern's resonance. Others believe the gardens are truly organic, shaped not by Dwemer craft, but by the slow patience of nature adapting to the void. Perhaps both are true. Perhaps the line between natural and artificial blurs here, as it so often does in places touched by the Dwemer. But no matter their origin, the effect of the gardens is undeniable. They inspire awe. The glow casts a dreamlike haze, softening the edges of stone and shadow, turning even jagged rocks into works of art. Adventurers who pass through often describe a strange peace stealing over them, a sense that for a moment they are not intruders but welcome guests. It is a fragile peace, of course, easily shattered by the distant sound of chitin scraping stone or the sudden flicker of movement in the dark. Yet while it lasts, it is unforgettable. There are stories of wanderers who lingered too long in these gardens, enchanted by their glow. Some never emerged, not because of violence or hunger, but because they simply chose to remain, as though the cavern itself had lulled them into a dream from which they did not wish to wake. Their bodies, when found, are often peaceful, resting among the mushrooms as if asleep. Some say the gardens are sirens, their glow a lure designed to hold the living still until the cavern can claim them. Others, gentler in thought, say that the gardens are merciful, offering beauty as a final gift before death. For those who survive, the memory of these glowing groves becomes difficult to describe. Many liken it to a dream that fades upon waking, vivid while present, but elusive afterward, slipping from the tongue when one tries to capture it in words. This elusiveness only adds to the myth. To speak of the gardens is to half believe they may not exist at all, save in the memory of those who dared descend. It is tempting to see in these glowing groves a metaphor for Blackreach itself. Just as the cavern is both graveyard and cradle, the gardens are both danger and solace, lures and sanctuaries, reminders of death yet bursting with life. They embody contradiction, that what is most perilous may also be most beautiful, and that even in the deepest dark, light can flourish. In their glow, the failures of the past seem softened, the dangers momentarily held at bay, as though the cavern itself, for all its hunger, wishes to remind mortals of wonder. Perhaps that is why the gardens endure in story as much as in stone. They're the rare part of Blackreach that inspires not only fear, but reverence. To speak of the gardens is to speak of possibility, that even in the depths of despair, beauty endures, glowing softly in forgotten corners, waiting for those brave or foolish enough to seek it. And perhaps it is their true gift, not survival, not knowledge, but the memory of beauty carried back to the surface, proof that even in a world carved by silence and shadow, there is still light. So when the songs of bards mention Blackreach, they do not always dwell upon its horrors. They also whisper of its glowing gardens, its strange and timeless beauty, its reminder that even in darkness, wonder persists. For though Blackreach consumes, though it echoes with failure and silence, it also offers glimpses of forgotten grace. And in those glimpses, mortals find not only fear, but hope. If the glowing gardens are the heart of Blackreach, then its rivers are the veins. They wind silently through the cavern's depths, streams of water that shimmer as though filled with liquid starlight. To look upon them is to see motion where all else is still, a reminder that even in this hushed underworld, there is movement, flow, and change. These quiet rivers carry with them stories older than memory, whispers of power and sorrow that the cavern has held since time, unmeasured. The water itself is strange. It gleams with a faint luminescence, glowing softly as though touched by moonlight. Yet no moon has ever reached this place. Some say the glow comes from minerals, seeping through cracks in the stone. Others claim it is the life of the cavern itself, the same pulse that feeds the glowing fungi and the luminous fish that dart through the shallows. There are even those who believe the water carries echoes of the heart of Lorcan, its broken power diffused through the veins of Nirn, seeping into places forgotten. Whatever the truth, the effect is mesmerizing. A river in Blackreach is less a stream than a ribbon of light unrolling across stone, its surface smooth, its depths unfathomable. The rivers run quietly, almost unnaturally so. On the surface, one expects the laughter of streams, the roar of rapids, the gentle lapping of waves. But here, the water makes almost no sound. It glides in silence, reflecting the cavern's glow as though unwilling to disturb the stillness. This silence, while peaceful, can also be unsettling. Travelers often speak of following the rivers not for guidance, but for comfort, clinging to the faint glow as a thread of safety in the endless dark. Yet in time, that same silence begins to weigh upon the mind. Some describe the sensation of walking beside the water for hours, only to realize they cannot recall a single moment of sound. Not of the water, not of their footsteps, not even of their breath. As if the rivers themselves drink sound into their depths. The Dwemer, who once held dominion here, seem to have understood the river's power. Ancient conduits and stone channels still stand along their banks, crafted to harness the flow. Some scholars believe the Dwemer used the rivers to power their machines, drawing upon minerals or energies hidden within the water. Others think they were more spiritual, that the Dwemer heard in the rivers a tonal resonance and shaped them into instruments of their hidden symphony. Whatever their purpose, those structures now crumble, half buried in moss and fungi, mere shadows of once great design. Yet the rivers endure. They are eternal, flowing as they always have, indifferent to both Dwemer and surface dweller. They remind those who wander too deeply that Blackreach belongs not to mortals, but to itself. To sit at their banks, to watch the light ripple across the cavern ceiling, is to feel both small and strangely comforted, as though one has stumbled upon a secret meant not for discovery, but for reverence. Legends among surface folk speak of treasures hidden in these waters, gems carried by the currents, relics dropped by explorers who never returned, even the bones of Dwemer lords still seated upon their stone thrones, watching as the light flows around them. More haunting are the tales of those who vanished into the rivers themselves, pulled down not by current, but by silence. One such story tells of a scholar who leaned too close, entranced by the glow, and fell headlong into the stream. His companions expected him to surface, to gasp for air, but he never did. The water closed over him without a ripple, and the river flowed on, unbroken, unhurried. In this way, the rivers claim lives without violence, swallowing them as effortlessly as they reflect the cavern's glow. But not all stories end in loss. Some speak of visions granted by the rivers. Wanderers who drank from the glowing water tell of dreams filled with forgotten places, of voices speaking in tones too vast to comprehend, of glimpses of creation itself. They awake shaken, yet with an odd calm, as though touched by something both immense and tender. Whether these dreams are gifts or illusions remains unknown. Still, they linger in memory long after the wanderer has left the cavern. In the end, the rivers of Blackreach are not to be solved, but to be accepted. They are both beautiful and perilous, both guides and lures, both sustenance and silence. They embody the same paradox as the cavern itself, that life and death, hope and despair, wonder and dread are inseparably entwined. To follow them is to walk a path that leads both deeper into mystery and closer to surrender. Perhaps that is their final lesson. On the surface, rivers are roads, guides from one place to another. In Blackreach, the rivers are not roads, but mirrors, reflecting what lies within those who gaze upon them. They flow not to carry one forward, but to remind one of stillness, of inevitability, of the truth that all currents, however strange, lead at last into silence. And so they flow quietly, endlessly, glowing in the dark, indifferent to those who pass by their banks. They need no witness, no purpose. They are Blackreach, as eternal as its stone, as enigmatic as its light. The rivers of Blackreach whisper of silence. Yet woven into that silence is another presence, faint, fractured, and unyielding. The Dwemer, the deep elves who once held dominion over this hidden world, are gone. Their halls stand empty, their cities hollow, their machines rusting where once they hummed with purpose. And yet if one lingers long enough in Blackreach, one can feel it, a vibration, a resonance too subtle to be sound, too faint to be fully grasped. It is as though the Dwemer left behind not merely stone and metal, but a song, unfinished, unresolved, and forever echoing in the caverns they carved. The Dwemer were not like other races of mare. While the Chimer looked upward toward gods and destiny, while the Altmare preserved ancient traditions, the Dwemer turned inward and downward. They listened to the world not through prayer, but through tone, vibration, and the hidden harmony of stone and metal. Their forges were not only workshops, but instruments. Their towers were not only fortresses, but tuning forks for creation. To the Dwemer, Blackreach was not just a cavern. It was a resonant chamber, an instrument vast enough to house their experiments in tonal architecture, the shaping of reality through sound. Fragments of this remain even now. Along the rivers, stone conduits still hum faintly when touched. Ruined towers resonate when struck, as though holding onto a note long after the musician has departed. Some claim that if you walk the halls of certain Dwemer ruins in silence, the very walls will begin to sing, low and mournful, like echoes trapped in the stone. Whether these are remnants of tonal magic or the imagination of weary travelers, none can say. Yet those who have heard it often describe the sound as incomplete, like a chord missing its final note. The Dwemer themselves vanished in an instant, consumed by the great enigma of the Battle of Red Mountain. But in Blackreach, their absence feels especially heavy. The cavern was one of their grandest achievements, a place where their vision of reality shaping could take root without interference from gods or mortals. To stand among the broken machines and silent halls is to feel the weight of abandonment. It is as if one has stepped into a symphony whose musicians have all vanished, leaving their instruments still vibrating faintly, waiting for hands that will never return. Among scholars, there is debate about whether the Dwemer succeeded in their great project here. Some say Blackreach was their masterpiece, a hidden laboratory where they came closest to unlocking the secret of divinity. Others argue it was unfinished, a fragment abandoned when they turned their full attention to the heart of Lorcan. Perhaps the truth lies between. Perhaps the cavern itself is the remnant of an experiment too vast for even the Dwemer to control. A half-played note, a song begun but never concluded. There are tales told by adventurers who ventured too deep into Blackreach and claim to hear more than silence. They speak of mechanical rhythms echoing in the dark, as if great gears still turned unseen. Some even describe voices, not words, but tonal vibrations, deep and harmonic, as if the cavern itself were still trying to complete the Dwemer's song. To listen too long, they warn, is to feel your own thoughts bend and reshape, as though the song were reaching into your mind, trying to weave you into its harmony. Few can endure it for long. The Falmer, twisted remnants of a people once allied with the Dwemer, still wander Blackreach. Their presence, pitiful and haunting, is itself a verse in the unfinished melody. Where once they were the snow elves, proud and radiant, they are now shadows stumbling in the dark, victims of Dwemer cruelty and experiments. Their suffering lingers as another kind of note, dissonant, mournful, the counterpoint to Dwemer ambition. Together, the silence of the Dwemer and the cries of the Falmer form a tragic harmony, a reminder that no song of mastery comes without cost. Yet even in ruin, there is wonder. The broken machines, with their strange brass and stone, still gleam faintly under the glow of fungi. Their gears catch the cavern light, as though reluctant to surrender their purpose. The grand halls, though empty, still feel alive with presence. It is easy to imagine that the Dwemer might return at any moment, stepping from the shadows to continue their great work, as though their disappearance was not final, but merely a pause. And perhaps that is why the Dwemer's song feels unfinished. It is not only that their machines lie silent, nor that their tonal experiments ended abruptly. It is that we who wander their halls cannot help but expect resolution, an answer to their mystery, a final chord that will explain where they went and why. But the Dwemer left no resolution, only silence, only resonance. Their song lingers because it was never concluded, because it still vibrates in the minds of those who seek them. In Blackreach, that song is everywhere. In the rivers that flow without sound. In the fungi that glow as though lit from within. In the ruins that hum faintly when touched. The Dwemer may be gone, but their music remains unfinished, eternal. It waits in the silence, unresolved, as though daring us to listen, to add our own voices, to attempt to complete what they could not. But perhaps the lesson of Blackreach is that some songs are not meant to end. They are meant to linger, incomplete, a reminder of ambition too great to be resolved. The Dwemer's unfinished song is not a failure, but a testament. a melody that still echoes through the stone, carrying forward into an eternity of silence and wonder. Beneath the vast stone canopy of Blackreach, silence is not empty. It is punctuated by motion, by the faint grind of brass joints, the almost imperceptible hiss of steam, and the quiet clatter of gears turning against time itself. The Dwemer may be gone, but their machines remain. Guardians, laborers, and sentinels without masters, still moving through the darkness as though the centuries that passed were but a single moment. These silent mechanisms, tireless and unyielding, are among the last living fragments of Dwemer intent. They walk, they patrol, they endure, and in their persistence, they embody the riddle of their vanished creators. To encounter one in the shadowed halls is to step into a paradox. The spider-like constructs skitter along walls and ceilings, their many legs moving in uncanny synchronization, gears clicking like an insect's mandibles. Spheres unfold from brass shells, rising from the ground with clockwork precision, transforming from lifeless metal into humanoid guardians whose motions are too precise, too exact to be natural. Centurions, towering giants of steam and steel, lurk in chambers where the very air trembles with the sound of their hearts. Great pistons beating in slow rhythm, releasing bursts of mist that hang in the glow of fungi like dragon's breath. These machines do not speak, yet they are not silent. Each movement, each rotation of a gear, each hiss of escaping steam contributes to a strange symphony, mechanical, unfeeling, yet undeniably alive. It is the sound of a civilization that refuses to die, a reminder that the Dwemer's mastery of craft endures even when its makers have long since vanished. The machines follow patterns, patrols, and duties no longer relevant, as though unaware that their creators are dust. Perhaps they are aware, but programmed to ignore loss, to continue forever, until time itself fails. Scholars argue over their nature. Were they powered by tonal magic, by some fusion of sound and soul, or merely by complex gears and stored energy far beyond what we can replicate? Some suggest that each construct houses a fragment of something living, not a soul, but an echo captured and bound within brass. If this is true, then the machines of Blackreach are not merely guardians, but prisons, holding captive some essence of life, forced to walk endlessly in silence. If it is false, their persistence is no less remarkable. Machines that function for millennia without maintenance, as if the cavern itself sustains them. Yet to watch them too closely is to feel unease. Their motions are repetitive, but within those repetitions lies a strange elegance, as though they move to rhythms only they perceive. A spider will halt, then click its legs in sequence, pausing before continuing. A centurion will turn its head slowly, scanning not with eyes, but with some deeper sense, before releasing a hiss of steam that sounds almost like a sigh. Adventurers who spend too long in their presence sometimes describe them as listening, as if attuned to something the rest of us cannot hear. Perhaps they march to the Dwemer's unfinished song, the same tonal vibration that hums faintly through Blackreach's stone. And always there is the question, why do they remain? Their creators are gone, their purpose long since lost, yet they endure. Are they waiting? Guarding? Do they even know their masters vanished? Or are they like ritual dancers who continue long after the music has ended, unable to stop, bound by design to motions that no longer carry meaning? The silence of Blackreach deepens these questions. For in the absence of Dwemer voices, the machines are the only presence left, a metallic echo of a people who once sought to bend reality to their will. There are legends among explorers that some machines are not as lifeless as they seem. Centurions that awaken not when touched, but when watched. Spheres that turn their heads ever so slightly toward a traveler, as though observing. And sometimes a sound, faint, mechanical, like the plucking of strings on a great brass harp, reverberates through the cavern when no construct is in sight. Could it be the machines themselves generating tone, keeping alive fragments of Dwemer tonal architecture in their movements? Or is it only imagination, sharpened by silence and fear? The truth may never be known, yet their presence transforms Blackreach into more than a ruin. Without them, it would be a tomb, still, silent, and forgotten. With them, it becomes something stranger, a place half alive, half abandoned, a stage where actors without voices continue a performance no one remembers. They do not age. They do not tire. They move in silence, and yet in their silence is something louder than words. The persistence of will, the endurance of craft, the refusal of creation to fade. Perhaps this is the greatest lesson of Blackreach, that while the Dwemer sought mastery over gods and reality, their true immortality lies in the mechanisms they left behind. They may not speak, they may not think, but they endure. And in enduring, they remind us that silence is not always absence. Sometimes it is continuity, the slow grinding of gears that refuse to stop, the hiss of steam that lingers after the forges have cooled. To walk among them is to feel the weight of that continuity. Every step echoes against stone. Every hiss of steam feels like a breath from another age. And every silent mechanism reminds us that the Dwemer's story did not end in fire and vanishing, but in motion, endless, relentless, unbroken. In Blackreach, silence is broken not only by the machines, but by whispers that seem to cling to the stone itself. The cavern does not merely preserve motion, it preserves memory. The Dwemer may be gone, their voices silenced, their cities abandoned, but their lore endures, scattered fragments etched into walls, hidden in metallic tablets, and woven into the very architecture of their halls. These echoes of forgotten lore linger like shadows, faint and elusive, yet unmistakably present. To wander here is to walk through a library where the books cannot be opened, where the words are half erased, and where meaning must be guessed as much as it is read. Carved inscriptions glimmer faintly in the glow of fungal light. Some are geometric, symbols shaped like spirals, squares, or interlocking arcs. Others are written in Dwemerous, the language of brass and stone, a tongue so dense with layered meaning that even the greatest scholars of the Mages Guild admit defeat. The few words that have been translated speak not of mundane matters, but of grand concepts, power, eternity, convergence, and the reshaping of worlds. The Dwemer did not carve for decoration. They carved for permanence, as if inscribing their ideas into the stone might allow them to survive the silence of time. Among the ruins, explorers sometimes discover tablets or shards of brass inscribed with diagrams. To the untrained eye, they look like meaningless spirals and intersecting lines. To those who study tonal architecture, they are fragments of lost symphonies, instructions for bending sound and matter into harmony, for shaping reality through resonance. It is said that one who could truly read these diagrams might hear music in the stone, might even reconstruct a fraction of the Dwemer's tonal craft. Yet none have succeeded. The echoes remain, but the song is incomplete. Not all lore is written. Some is spoken in myth, carried down through whispers of the Falmer who linger in the depths. Their minds, twisted by betrayal and blindness, recall fragments of stories that blur truth with memory. Some speak of the stone that sings, a relic hidden in the cavern that still hums with Dwemer resonance. Others tell of a vault of light, buried beneath the deepest roots of the cavern, where secrets too great for mortal minds were locked away. These tales, fragmented and broken, may be remnants of truth or simply the shattered memories of a cursed people. Yet in Blackreach, even the strangest tale feels possible, for the cavern itself hums with mystery. There are also stranger echoes, voices that do not come from Falmer or inscription, but from the stone itself. Travelers speak of hearing faint murmurs in the air, as if many voices were speaking at once, always just beyond comprehension. Some claim it is the stone remembering the Dwemer, repeating their words in tones too low for the ear to grasp fully. Others believe it is the lingering presence of tonal magic, a vibration that never truly ceased. And some whisper that the Dwemer are not gone at all, that they exist in another state, speaking across the boundary of existence. Their words too fractured to reach us clearly. The Elder Scrolls themselves are said to have resonated in this place, long before mortals carried them into towers and temples. Some claim the scrolls were brought here, to Blackreach, where the cavern silence made them easier to hear. If true, then Blackreach was not merely a city or a mine, but a sanctuary of knowledge. It was a place where reality thinned, where the words of the scrolls could be seen not as riddles, but as music. Even today, some say that carrying a scroll in a Blackreach makes it sing, its parchment vibrating faintly, as though recognizing the cavern as an old home. To stand in these halls is to feel the weight of lore pressing down from every wall. Every carving is a question. Every diagram is a puzzle. Every faint whisper is a reminder that knowledge, once gained, is never truly lost. It only changes form. The Dwemer may have sought to master reality, but perhaps their greater achievement was ensuring their thoughts could not be silenced. Though their people vanished in an instant, their lore endures, scattered like broken notes of a song. Each fragment alone is meaningless, but together they create the impression of something vast, something profound, something unfinished. This, too, is the essence of Blackreach. It is a place of fragments, a city without people, machines without masters, songs without endings, lore without readers. And yet, in these fragments lies continuity. To walk here is to touch ideas that once reshaped empires. To listen here is to hear voices that no longer breathe. And to rest here is to realize that knowledge never fades. It only echoes, waiting for someone to hear it again. In the silence of Blackreach, those echoes remain, waiting, unanswered, unbroken. In Blackreach, silence is never empty. It is not the stillness of a void, nor the quiet of absence. It is instead a presence in its own right, thick, resonant, and almost alive. The echoes of forgotten lore fade into this silence, but the silence itself carries weight, as though it remembers everything that has been spoken, everything that has been sung, everything that has been lost. To linger here is to realize that silence is not the absence of sound, but the vessel that holds all sound within it. As one walks through the vastness of the cavern, the silence changes. Near the glowing fungi, it hums faintly, like a low note struck on an unseen string. In the metallic halls of Dwemer ruins, it becomes sharper, colder, as if reflecting off brass walls that still retain the memory of tonal experiments. In the deep chasms, where the air grows heavy and the light dims, silence feels crushing, almost unbearable, as though the very stone presses its weight upon the mind. Each space of Blackreach carries its own resonance, its own silence, tuned like an instrument that no longer plays, yet still vibrates with meaning. This resonance invites reflection. Those who meditate here often describe a sensation of hearing thoughts that are not their own. The silence seems to listen back, to shape the wanderer's thoughts, to stretch them toward questions that might otherwise never be asked. What is the true nature of sound, if silence can shape it? What is the nature of memory, if stone itself can hold echoes? What is the boundary between presence and absence, if silence itself can speak? These questions rise unbidden, carried not by words, but by the stillness that surrounds them. It is said that tonal architects once used silence as carefully as sound. For every chord struck upon their strange resonators, there was a pause, a stillness, in which the air shifted and reality bent. In that pause lay the true power, not the note itself, but the space between notes. The Dwemer understood that silence is not nothingness, but a shaping force. In the same way that a sculptor requires empty space to define the form of stone, or that a poet requires silence between verses to give the words meaning, so too did the Dwemer require silence to give their resonances form. Perhaps this is why Blackreach feels eternal. Its silences are not voids to be filled, but structures unto themselves. They're the skeleton upon which every whisper and every echo hangs. Without silence, the inscriptions would be meaningless chatter. Without silence, the whispers of the Falmer would be lost noise. Without silence, even the glowing fungi would seem less radiant, for their light thrives against the backdrop of darkness. Silence here does not erase, it defines. For some, this silence is unsettling. To spend too long within it is to feel the mind begin to shift, to bend inward, as if the cavern itself is guiding thought toward hidden truths. Some report visions when meditating within the silence of Blackreach. Images of the Dwemer, of vast machines awakening, of cities not built in stone but in sound. Others hear faint music that seems to have no source, a lingering resonance that may be nothing more than the imagination, or maybe the cavern remembering songs too ancient for us to comprehend. Whether real or imagined, the silence gives these experiences shape as though it were a medium for thought itself. The resonance of silence also serves as a reminder of loss. The Dwemer are gone. Their voices have ceased. Their songs are unfinished. What remains is not their speech, but the absence of it. In that absence lies the weight of all that was not said, all that was not recorded, all that was carried away when their people vanished. The silence of Blackreach is not neutral, it is mournful. It carries the weight of 1,000 questions that will never find answers, 1,000 songs that will never reach their final notes. Yet, strangely, it does not despair. Instead, it endures, patient, as though waiting for someone else to listen, someone else to ask, someone else to carry forward the song. This is the paradox of Blackreach. Silence here is both an ending and a beginning. It is the tomb of the Dwemer, and yet it is also the cradle of reflection. It is the reminder of what has been lost, and the possibility of what may yet be found. To hear its resonance is to realize that silence itself can be a teacher. It teaches patience. It teaches humility. It teaches that meaning is not always spoken, and that sometimes the greatest truths rest in what is left unsaid. Thus, in the resonance of silence, the lore of Blackreach finds its final form. Not in words, not in echoes, not even in song, but in the quiet that frames them all. To dwell in this silence is to touch the essence of the cavern, to understand that what is not heard is often as powerful as what is heard. Here, in the stillness of the deep, the Dwemer's absence speaks louder than their presence ever could. And as the cavern rests, so too does the mind, finding peace not in noise, but in the infinite embrace of silence. Blackreach has always been more than a cavern. It is not merely a place hidden beneath Skyrim, nor simply a ruin of Dwemer ambition. It is a mystery that endures across ages, a riddle carved not in words but in stone, light, and silence. To speak of Blackreach is to circle around truths that can never be fully touched. It is a reminder that some stories do not end, and some secrets are not meant to be solved. They remain like stars half hidden by clouds, glimpsed only in fragments, never in their entirety. For the Dwemer, Blackreach was a crucible. It was their heart of industry, their stage for tonal architecture, their attempt to bend the fabric of existence itself. Machines whirred, resonators rang, and for a time, this underground world must have been alive with purpose. Yet today, that purpose is a memory. The machines are silent, the architects gone, their wisdom scattered like fragments of broken glass. What remains is not their triumph, but their absence. The mystery of their vanishing is tied forever to this place, as if the cavern itself swallowed their last breath and keeps it locked within. For the Falmer, Blackreach is both prison and home, curse and survival. Their story threads through these halls like a shadow cast by another's light. Blinded by betrayal, forced into the depths, they linger here as living remnants of a broken pact. Their voices are harsh whispers, their steps uncertain, yet their endurance speaks of a people who, though twisted, have not been erased. Blackreach carries their sorrow within its silence, an unending reminder that the greatest mysteries are not always about vanished empires, but about the fate of those left behind. Even for wanderers of later ages, adventurers, scholars, and dreamers who descend into its depths, Blackreach does not yield itself fully. A glowing mushroom might light a path, but never the whole cavern. A Dwemer ruin may reveal a mechanism, but never its full design. A whispered song may drift across the stone, but its words dissolve before they are understood. Each discovery leads only to another question. Each answer is incomplete. To walk in Blackreach is to accept that some mysteries are not meant to be mastered, but to be experienced. And perhaps this is the truest secret of Blackreach. It does not demand understanding. It invites awe. It asks the wanderer to let go of certainty, to rest in wonder, to find peace in not knowing. Just as silence gives meaning to sound, mystery gives meaning to knowledge. Without mystery, knowledge would be barren, a list of facts with no depth. With mystery, knowledge becomes alive, alive with longing, alive with possibility. Blackreach embodies this truth. It is less a puzzle to be solved than a song to be heard. Not once, but again and again, each time with new ears. Those who meditate in its depths often report a sense of timelessness, as though the cavern were outside of history. The glow of the fungi seems eternal, neither waxing nor waning. The silence is so deep it could belong to the beginning of the world, or to its end. In this timelessness, the mind loosens its grip on the need for answers. One does not ask when the Dwemer will return, or why they vanished, or whether the Falmer might one day rise again. One simply rests in the presence of the mystery, letting it flow like a river that cannot be contained. The lasting mystery of Blackreach, then, is not that it hides knowledge, but that it transforms the seeker. It reshapes questions into meditations, and facts into poetry. It teaches that what is hidden can still be beautiful, that what is unsolved can still bring peace. The Dwemer may never return. The Falmer may never heal. The cavern may never give up its secrets. Yet in the very act of enduring, of remaining mysterious, Blackreach becomes something greater than knowledge. It becomes wisdom. For in wisdom lies acceptance. Acceptance that not all stories have endings. Acceptance that not all light reveals. Acceptance that silence itself may be the truest song. To sit in the heart of Blackreach is to feel this wisdom pressing gently upon the soul, asking nothing, offering everything. It does not speak in words, but in resonance. It does not show its truths, but allows them to unfold slowly, like mushrooms glowing in the dark, faint yet steady, impossible to extinguish. And so, Blackreach endures. It will outlast kingdoms, empires, and legends. It will outlast songs sung of it, and perhaps even memory itself. What remains will not be its machines, nor its wars, nor its sorrow. What remains will be the mystery, endless, unbroken, eternal. The mystery that is Blackreach, the mystery that is silence, the mystery that whispers, even now, to those who dream. When one finally leaves Blackreach, whether by forgotten lift, winding tunnel, or the slow ascent through Dwemer halls, the silence does not stay behind. It follows, lingering like a shadow, stretched across the soul. The cavern itself may be sealed away beneath miles of stone, yet its presence echoes beyond the deep. These echoes are not loud, not sharp. They are quiet, like memories softened by time. But they endure, just as Blackreach itself endures, silent and unseen, beneath the turning world above. The first echo is wonder. Those who walk beneath the glowing mushrooms, who gaze upon the hidden stars of the cavern ceiling, carry that vision forever after. It colors their dreams, paints their thoughts, and reshapes their sense of scale. Blackreach is a reminder that the world is larger, stranger, and more profound than the surface ever reveals. It whispers that mysteries do not belong only to the heavens, but to the depths as well. One cannot stand in its glow without sensing that Tamriel holds infinities, and that even those infinities may be dwarfed by what lies further still. The second echo is sorrow. The Dwemer are gone, the Falmer broken, their stories woven into the silence of the stone. Their fates remind us that power, when grasped too tightly, can dissolve into nothing. The Dwemer reached for eternity and fell into absence. The Falmer clung to survival and found themselves diminished into shadow. Their legacies remain only as fragments scattered across the cavern, but their sorrow is whole. It hums beneath every silent chamber, a music without notes. Those who descend cannot help but feel it, like a chill that touches the spirit more than the flesh. The third echo is humility. Blackreach reminds us that not all can be known, not all can be mastered. The Dwemer thought they had bent reality to their will, yet the cavern itself resists full explanation. Its silence is deeper than any machine, its glow older than any invention, its resonance beyond the grasp of tonal lore. To leave Blackreach is to carry with you the awareness that mystery is not weakness, but strength. For in mystery lies the reminder that the world is always larger than the self, and that even gods and empires are but flickers against the vast unknown. And yet, there is a final echo, quieter still, softer than silence, but present for those who listen. It is not sorrow, nor wonder, nor humility. It is peace. Blackreach teaches that endings are not always loss, that absence can be a form of presence, that silence can itself be a gift. The Dwemer's vanishing, the Falmer's tragedy, the cavern's secrecy, all of these might seem heavy, yet within the stillness of Blackreach, they fold into calm. Like ripples fading across water, all struggle, all sound, all striving finds its rest. In this way, the cavern offers something rare, the gift of stillness. When wanderers return to the surface, they may speak of glowing fungi, of hidden cities, of ancient machines. They may write of dangers, treasures, and discoveries. But deep within, what stays with them is the silence. It cannot be forgotten. It hums faintly through their lives, like a remembered dream. And when they lie awake at night, staring into darkness, they may feel again the presence of Blackreach, vast and timeless, echoing just beyond the edges of thought. Perhaps this is the truest legacy of the cavern. Not knowledge, not power, but remembrance. Blackreach reminds us that what is unseen shapes what is seen, that what is hidden beneath gives weight to what rests above. It is the unseen foundation of Skyrim, just as mystery is the unseen foundation of wisdom. To walk away from its depths is not to leave it behind, but to carry it forward. Its echoes will sound in every step, every silence, every dream. And so we end where we began, with silence. Blackreach does not close its doors, nor offer a final word. It waits, as it always has, beneath stone and time, glowing softly, resonating faintly, guarding its secrets. Its echoes reach outward, beyond the cavern, beyond memory, beyond even the telling of this story. They linger in the quiet between thoughts, in the breath before sleep, in the deep places of the soul where words cannot go. Echoes beyond the deep, echoes without end.